Mr. Jason. I'm always jumping the gun, huh?
You are. Ooh, Mr. Craig. Mr. Craig.
Oh, there we go. The mic was weird.
You keep saying that. Your mic's weird.
I know. Apparently I'm only in one ear and out the other.
That's what your wife said. I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't either, but who cares? We got a great guest.
Ooh, I'm excited. You tell me, Mr. Craig.
Oh, I'm going to tell you who it is. It's Allie Donner, Delightful Dudette.
Yes.
Secret do's and don'ts to double-digit, deliciously delectable dinero.
Oh, let's put that in our pocket and take it to the bank.
Ay, caramba.
Ding.
Buckle up. It's the Insurance Dudes Podcast.
There she is.
Hey.
Live in concert, Alison Donner. On Dasher, on Dancer, on Vixen.
There we go.
Hey, sorry
How's
about
it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
48-hour wait.
Oh, you're good. You're absolutely good. I'm gonna try
48-hour and 12-minute wait.
You're good. I'm gonna try. How's everybody feeling?
A little sick, a little under the weather.
Yeah. Gotta love kids. They bring all the germs to your house.
Oh, yes.
One big head.
So
Right.
what? My daughter got the stomach flu. So we all went to Legoland last weekend. My daughter got the stomach flu. Two of my sons got a separate fever / congestion. Then my daughter, we had to get x-rays on her foot in the middle of this. And my wife gets sick, and now the little baby at home, little baby's sick.
It's no good when the parents get sick. Like you don't get
right.
Sick. Doesn't work that way. So awesome.
Well, you're definitely not off duty.
No,
You're still
you
on
can't have a
duty.
fever. You can't just lay there and chill. You don't
No.
get those luxuries like the kids get. All right, I'm gonna just throw this out.
I remember, and it was a long time ago when my daughter was, I don't know, probably 2 or 3, and we got food poisoning, my wife and I, and we couldn't move. Like we literally couldn't move, and we were like both laying on the couch, and she's 2 walking around, and we're just like, I don't care what you do. Go play with the knives. I mean, it doesn't matter. Here's some explosives. Go have fun.
That's fine. So our kids range from 9 to 23, and our 23-year-old's always yelling about how much the 13-year-old and the 9-year-old get away with. And I'm like, I'm tired.
I don't care anymore.
I'm tired. I'm like, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Crap.
With my daughter, we would be, really vigilant and all this. And then my son is 14, and I just go to Seattle and leave him.
You're just like, you're good. No parties. I've got all the Amazon cloud cameras on.
Exactly. I said, there's a camera everywhere.
That's right. Well, thanks for inviting me on. I know we like totally went off script here, which is good because I'm totally nervous.
That's the best part about this.
Yes, so nervous.
What?
We talked about that a little.
Yeah, I'm an introvert at heart, so I'm literally like shaking.
But you're always out there on the interwebs.
I am. I'm like a keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
I'm a totally different person behind the keyboard, but like these things, so not so much.
Okay, well we'll break the ice with the easy one.
Okay.
What was your first concert that you went to?
New Kids on the Block.
Yes. That's so good.
Oh,
what year?
Man.
Probably 1986.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, maybe 87. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, at Kings Island Amusement Park. So.
Where's Kings Island?
Cincinnati. It's in Mason, Ohio. It's actually my hometown. Yeah, so, yep, it's good times.
Did you bring any signs? Did you wear any gear?
Oh, yeah, I had the whole shirt. I mean, the whole shebang.
Pants.
So I had all of it. Yes. I actually still own gold parachute pants that I might bust out at some point.
You
You
should.
can't have
Love
kids,
it.
but
Oh, that's awesome.
That is
Yeah.
a good one.
Thanks.
Cool. So why don't you, for anybody that hasn't seen your posts and stuff on the interwebs, how did you get in the insurance business? Start from the very beginning. Why insurance?
So
Yeah.
really going to be kind of like a little personal, but so I was a teen mom, so I had very limited choices post high school because I had to be a
Sure.
mom. I didn't get to do the typical college route, things like that. And there was a job for a bookkeeper at a local life insurance company. And so I've always been good with math. So I went and took the aptitude test, had an interview, did not get the job. Literally knew from the second the woman looked at me. So like I called my mom. She's like, well, what'd you wear? And I was like, a skirt. She's like, how short? I'm like, I don't know. Well, I was 18, so you can imagine that mistake. She's like, black suit, always black suit, blazer, black pants. So the next interview I went in, I got hired as a payment processor for the life insurance company. That was in 1997. And then I worked my way up and ended up being an internal wholesaler for them for investments. They helped me get like my Series 6, 63 life and health, all these certifications. And then I met my husband, and you couldn't be married and work there. So one of
What?
us had to go. Yes.
Why?
This old
Oh.
school mentality that, I mean, we weren't like supervisor. We actually had the same role in 2 different states. So why it mattered, but it did. So nonetheless,
At first, I just thought you couldn't be married. And
no. You couldn't be married to each other. So I went into the banking industry, met a lady. She asked me to apply for an EFS role. And I said, well, I just switched jobs and I'm a lifer when I go places. So I sent my husband on the interview. He got the job, became an EFS in 2014,
Ooh.
or excuse me, 2004. Ooh. And then she retired and I bought her agency in 2006. And so here we are. That's how I ended up at Allstate and insurance in general.
13 years later.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's talk about that journey. How
Yes.
was it your first year? How did you scale? Where are you at now? What do you wish that people knew or that you knew before, I don't know, when you started?
And that's,
So go ahead.
ironically, I think the commissions were the same that year as they're soon to be.
No, they've always been 10-10 for me.
Oh, it was 10-10? Okay.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
always
right
been
before.
10-10 for
So
me.
they just
So
switched it to 10-10. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, probably because it was 2006. So when I started, they were on All Star, which I was
I
like,
love
what
it.
is this green screen machine? So
Yes.
I was fortunate that the buyers let me like come and play in the office on the system. So I would say that's the one advantage I had that a lot of agents, I feel like, don't go into an office before they open. And that's so critical because literally the day of the like switch on March 1st, 2006, she like high-fived me on the way out. I came in, she never stepped foot back in the place. So I was like, okay, what now? You know, so I think the one big piece of advice I would say is if you could go shadow at an agency or, you know, work in there just a little bit, it's definitely worth it because I wasn't just blindly logging onto the system in reality for the first time. I got to work under them. I actually extended my closing out 4 weeks just to have an extra 4 weeks to work under them and be able to ask questions with them in the office. So that was probably a pretty smart move on my part because there were no educational platforms at that time. You know, there were no Facebook groups. You were just swimming out there all by yourself. And I'm really lucky with my territory. Like the agents are nice, you know, but you can't bother somebody when they're trying to run their agency. Like, wait, how do I close the knit? Wait, how do I do this? Wait, how do I just the basics, you know, on running an agency. So yeah. And then, okay, so that was in 2006. And basically I just work a lot. And ironically, I found out in Chicago I was pregnant with our 3rd child. So nothing like starting a business and being pregnant. Yeah. So I opened March 1st. He was born July 26th. And I took a 3-day maternity leave.
Wow.
I did pumpkin seat back into the office and we were
Wow.
working on All Star. And so I just think working hard, I've grown from 1.7 million was what I bought. I'm now over 10. I did buy 2 more agencies in 2009, but I was just telling somebody the other day, I go, really, all that business is gone. I mean, it's been over 10 years, you know, so realistically, I've written far more than 10, 11 million with retention. So, but that's where I'm at now. So I have 2 physical locations, 8 employees right now, over 10 million, husband's still in EFS, and we have 4 kids now. So living the dream.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got 4 too.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. It is definitely a lot.
I don't know how you do it, both of you. It's insane.
It's
2 was
dash of insanity, right?
Yes. Yeah.
dash.
3 kind of put me at that edge.
Yes.
And then 4, I'm well over the edge. There's no chance of another one.
Yeah, that's why when people are like they ask me like, are you real particular about this? I'm like, you can't be particular about anything when you have 4 kids. Nothing goes right. Nothing.
Nope.
Prepares you for insurance world too, right? Nothing goes right.
Yeah, you come into the office with your list of things to do, and nope.
Systems don't work.
Yeah.
Put that over there.
You're
That
like,
happened this morning. 3 hours to get one of our producers logged in.
oh, that's hard.
It's you know what though? It's very hard, yes, on the writing part. But the really cool part is if you do have a bigger agency, is that you could shut your doors and you're still going to make money. So it's like,
this is true. This is true.
Unlike being a parent, there's no safety net of like, oh, okay, I'm going to check out for like an hour. You know what I mean? There's no checking out.
You do learn that, like, I have like first-time parents, second-time parents. They're so critical of themselves. And I'm like, listen, you're never going to do it right. Like there's always going to be a complaint, just like being a boss and just like being an agent. Like you can go above and beyond. And if it isn't what the employee expects or what the client expects, you learn. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've gone home crying just from clients yelling at me, staff getting the wrong message, because communication is so difficult in today's day and age. And you're just on different pages about stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a question I should ask everybody that's been an agent longer than 10 years is, how do you have your agency structured, and how have you gotten to that point? Because there's always the debate of, you know, the hybrid or, you know, sales and service, or I don't know, even subcategories.
So I work in the agency, which is, you know, totally my choice. It's an addiction, really. So I work an insane amount of hours still to this day, 50 plus hours minimum every week. But I am currently sales and service. But what happened is that our salespeople are too salesy and our service people are too servicey. If that's a word, I'm gonna make it up. And so I've decided next year to go back to hybrid. So, because I feel like sales is service and service is sales. And originally I did it because it's so much easier to control sales goals, because it's a number, it's set, you can manage calls, take it, whatever. But I see this post all the time. How do I monitor my service people? You can't, right? So that's like, it's so difficult to really get a grasp, because you'll look and say, they were on the phone for 2 hours, what'd they do for the other 6 hours? But if you're working in the agency, you see that your people are busy, but the data, they don't look busy according to the data. And so agents that aren't working in the agency, there's a huge disconnect, if that makes sense for them.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm going to go back to hybrid and have minimal daily activity. So did you increase somebody's limits? Did you sell a pup? So I'm going to try to get the service people to be a little bit more salesy. And then I need the salespeople to understand what happens if you don't sell water backup. What happens if you don't sell building codes and that person is crying? Like, I feel like they need that to really grasp what they're selling to people.
It's constant training.
It is. It is definitely constant
even on the service side. And I think that, you know, as we move into the future here, it's going to be a lot of this hybrid and the really bringing somebody on that has maybe some service experience, but also can sell. You know, they have to be able to sell because we are a sales organization.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not just the lovers, the nurturers, you know, coming in and doing that.
And I think that, like, so for me, I am a nurturer. I don't know why, but some test told me I was a salesperson. I am not.
I don't believe that.
But I think, and I openly tell people all the time, I suck at sales. I have nothing to do with my sales team, like zero. Like other people handle it because I can't hold people accountable. I hate to ask for the close, so I should not be leading those people. But what I am good at is saying, you need this. Like, it's not a sale, right? It's because it's not about me and my bottom line and my goals. It's about, like, I met a guy yesterday who's an engineer for a policy review, 100, 300, been with me since, I want to say 1992 was his original start. And he's been with a huge company here in Cincinnati, over $1 million in his 401k, 100, 300. So it wasn't like, let me sell you this umbrella. It was, you need this now. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's kind of my sales strategy.
But Allison, I would argue that that's the highest level of sales is actually delivering on their need and not
Right.
selling them something, right?
Absolutely.
The second we're selling, they smell it and people shut off.
Right.
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
I see you don't have life insurance. They're like, "Wah!" They run, right?
Right.
They're gone.
Yes.
It's like, hey, well, let's figure out, you know, let's do the review, figure out where there's some gaps.
Right.
We'll tell you what you need, and you don't have to get it. I
And-
always like to do a takeaway. Hey, look, you don't have to do it, but I am going to put a note that you didn't, that you said you didn't want to.
Yeah. And I
Right.
think that sentence right there, you don't have to. Like,
Oh, I love to do that.
I do stuff like that all the time. Like, it's my job to tell you what I think you need. It's your job to decide.
Yeah.
And just like calming that it's not a sales pitch, that it's genuine, you know, just like a doctor saying you should take a multivitamin. Okay, well, if you don't want
Yep.
to, that's your call, but that's what the
I
doc
don't
says.
care.
should
You
do.
can get cancer, fine, no big deal.
Yeah,
Just
right.
Take it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
I have a question for both of you guys because I've only been an agent now, just hit my 3rd year anniversary, and
congratulations.
thank you. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And I am, so when we came in, we were hybrid. The first year was a freaking disaster. Like,
Yeah.
I bought an agency and it was of a gentleman, and his wife had passed away a year before. So they had all these just agents in here just doing all kinds of, they didn't have e-agent. They didn't have no digital. It was stacks of paper. So over that year, agents had put stuff in crates and there's piles everywhere. And it was nuts. And I worked in an agency with my father-in-law for probably a combined total of a month.
Okay.
So I just got thrown into it, kind of like your situation, just thrown
Yeah.
into it. And then we had to switch over to digital, and we were scanning stuff, and like we were basically a hybrid. So what I like, that first year was so hard because we were all trying to sell, and we were horrible selling. Like, I think our big month was like 25 items. It was just awful trying to sell on price, like,
Right.
you know, because that's what you think. Oh yeah, you want it the cheapest price? Excellent. I'll try to get you that cheapest price. You know, the typical what everybody does. But it definitely was a game changer when we decided to go to service and sales. And I've thought about going back to hybrid, but it's so, like, this is what I wrestle with mentally, is that a good salesperson likes the kill, hates the paperwork, hates, you know, putting detailed notes, hates, you know, the 3 hour, like, to your point, that 2 hour conversation.
Right.
I don't feel like I'm a salesperson because, but I guess I am, right? We're always salespeople because we're selling our employees, right? We're selling our staff on this vision and everything else, and like selling them on following their dreams and goals and trying to achieve them. Yeah. So I guess I am a salesperson. I empathize with the salesperson because I don't like the long paperwork. Like, I'm horrible. I like the sale, quick, fast. Let's go on to the next thing.
Yes.
So it's hard. I wrestle with that.
So I think it all depends on who your staff are, right? So
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
I'm making this call based on who my staff at the present moment are, and I'm not hiring anyone new. We're in a holding pattern because of all the changes. So I kind of know what their assets are and what we can make the agency the best with. So I don't think there's anything wrong with swinging your agency from one model to another, just depending on the staff. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, if you don't have a producer writing 60 items a month and they're writing 30, they have plenty of time in their day to be helping out on the service side, and you shouldn't be getting any voicemails on your service side. So it just, you know, what's good for you right now at this second might not be good for you in 9 months. So at this particular moment, I have seen so many gaps in them being separated. It's not beneficial anymore. So we're going to bring them back together, if that makes sense.
That does
I
make
agree.
sense.
I think it isn't static, right? The
Right.
agency, you can't, in the same way, Jason, that we always talk about, you have to be ready to adapt and to change.
Yeah.
We can't say we have a service team, we have a sales team, and that's it. And then you're really limiting yourself, because you could get somebody that comes along, they take the sales strengths identifier, they end up, well, they're on the edge 7s, but they're really good on the phone and they're bubbly. And you're like, well, I mean, maybe they would be good to be inbound, or do the Jeremy Olson model where it's, I have outbound sales, and that's your hunters. And then I have inbound sales who do service too.
Right.
And the house deals. Cause I have a couple people that I hand the gimmies, because they're just not as good at working in the data leads.
Right.
They don't.
That's a different monster. Yeah.
Because that's a totally different monster, right? That's 2 sales. That's convince them to actually do the quote, and then convince them to buy, when we're often way more right on the data leads. So
and I
totally
think
different sales.
you guys are on to something, that you actually know who your staff are, because I think that's where I see the biggest problem. And I don't even mean in the insurance industry. I mean, any entrepreneur I know, is that when they outgrow the job and they have to start working on the agency, and then they disconnect, which is perfectly understandable. Not everybody wants to work 50 hours a week. But when you're not in there every day and you're not listening, and you don't really know your staff, it's very difficult to make those decisions, you know, and almost dangerous to make those decisions without knowing how they're wired, what makes them happy. You know, I lost my entire customer service team in 2016, I think it was, because I put in a 1 kept ALR appointment requirement per month. They all quit except
everyone gone.
Everyone left. Now, so that was 5 people. 3 asked for their jobs back within a year. So, but the reason why they left, which was so ironic, was they're like, Allie, we can't talk about life insurance. Like literally heart palpitation. I can't talk about death. I want to throw up. Okay, I respect that. But I realized that, okay, well, that's why when I do a promotion for $200 for a kept appointment, no one does anything. It isn't about the money. It was that they did not want to talk about life insurance, and they had never been asked to talk about life insurance. And so that was just different for them, but it needed to happen. And I wouldn't have changed it even if I had because it was like, we have to, right? Like it's a part of our job, not a part of our goals, but you have to be able to protect people's entire life. You can't just be like, okay, I'm good with home and auto, because life insurance is a critical part of the insurance portfolio.
Yeah, we have to do it.
Terrified of it. Like it's similar to being terrified about riding flood, you know, like it's scary because it's not your everyday known, but some people need it. So you have to know how to have those conversations.
Yeah, we position it where, again, it's not selling if I think that maybe your people had the mindset that they had to sell it. Right. And so then they get terrified in the same way that you don't like to sell. So they're thinking, I don't want to sell. I can't do that. And you're like, we have to get it, or we're screwed. And then if it's instead, hey, we just have to uncover what these people need, and then you can offer it and say it's no big deal, and that's a lot less pressure. And then something else that I think is important, and what you've experienced is one little decision can affect the culture of the whole agency, right? And then you're in a position where you have to bring a bunch of people on because now it's frantic. And then you throw in somebody, and if you get somebody that's the wrong person or the wrong fit,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, you've
That was
got
the
a
hard
year
part
of
about that, because I actually love that entire team. And I
yeah.
actually, one of them, I didn't have roles when two of them asked. So one went to another agency and one's out of insurance now. But I did end up hiring the other one back when a position to become available. So that made it even harder because they weren't dead weight and they weren't negative. It was just literally that ALR portion. It was like this is going to hurt, but so necessary. It just was.
If you did it over again, I know you'd do the same, but would you introduce it differently? Would you have possibly have done maybe role playing?
So I had done it all. I had done. That's
You
why I
did
was
it
like,
all.
it didn't matter. Like in
Oh,
their
it didn't.
core, it didn't matter how much I taught them, how much money I threw at them. They genuinely it made them physically sick to be like, hey, you got life insurance? Like,
Wow.
hey, you're going to die. It's just, that was their personality, and I couldn't make them do something they were so uncomfortable with.
And then you think about it, and the whole point of insurance is in case you die. Like, there's always death in all parts of insurance. That's the whole liability portion. So
yeah,
that's a scary thing to not want to talk about.
It's 100% probability, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're going to die, guys. Like, and they're
We're all
like, we
gonna
know
die.
that, but we don't need to ruin their day by reminding them that they're going to die. And I'm like, I get it. I do, but we just couldn't.
And I've talked to my team about that when we have our meetings. I talk about, like, coming in, like, our mindset during the day dictates everything. So come in, think about all the things that we're grateful for, our family, everything that we have. I mean, the office, just everything to really just tweak your mind.
Right.
But if that doesn't work for you, what about if your family died? What about if, you know what I mean? Visualize that, because that will set your mind right. Like, oh yeah, like that would just, I mean, you cannot feel better than being in that place and then going, you know what, but none of that stuff has happened. So awesome. I'm going to have a great day.
Exactly. It's like this could happen. And in case it does, let's prepare you so you don't leave your family high and dry, but they just couldn't. And that's okay. I mean, honestly, some of my best friends, worked for me. So, and we're still friends to this day. So you just got to know when things have to change at your agency for the success.
And so your agency, that prior year to that post year, I mean, it had to be a drastic shift in everything, because if you have people that weren't willing to talk about it, then you shifted that model. Considering that that's exactly what we do, it had to be a big weight off your shoulders.
Yeah. So the problem was I had always done the ALR up until that point. So we would write like 90 to 100,000 a year, but it was all on my shoulders. And so now we write like 115, 135-ish is like kind of where we hit. Probably could write 150 if I really push, but it's not all on my shoulders. I'm not doing as much as I did, because that's what happened is I was getting it all from policy reviews. But policy reviews were taking up like 30 hours of my week. And now I was quadruple the size that I was, and I had all these other hats to wear. And I'm like, I can't keep getting ALR from policy reviews. We've got to have different ways to fill the ALR pipeline. So that's where the shift was.
Have you ever had somebody, or when you stepped out of that role, did you get somebody else to do the policy reviews?
So they all do. We do we call it mini policy reviews. Like when something's real complicated, like the guy yesterday came in. But for the most part, you're always going to get like your 70 plus people to come in, right? They got nothing better to do. They're retired. Sure. It's great. But that doesn't help when you have a 45-year-old person living in a $700,000 house with 5,100 because they bought their policy when they were 20 and you haven't talked to them. Like, you're missing the bulk of your clients when all you're getting in is retirees. So I'm like, we have to shift the way we communicate policy reviews to their time frame and their schedule. So now it's like when they call in, we try to grab them. Like, I just need like a couple seconds. Can I go over your discounts? People are like, sure. Like, that's what you lead
Right.
with.
There's the hook.
Yeah. And then so you do that, like, do you know about our driveways, whatever. And then you say, hey, just so you know, like, you're at 100, 300. Let me explain what that means. And then it's just a natural conversation. And a lot of times they'll be like, can you send me a couple quotes to like increase that? And then we just start communicating by email. But most people cannot take an hour out of their day to come and sit, and they don't want to.
Yeah.
They don't want to, you know.
Have you tried any screen share stuff like this?
No, I'll be honest. I don't normally get ready for work. I look like a hot mess, so nobody would probably want to see. My hair's like up in a bun. I have no makeup on. I'm like pretty much in my pajamas. Nobody needs to see all that.
Okay,
that's awesome. Cool. I love that. I love that. That must be good. Like, that must be a good vibe. Everybody's like, wow, she's working hard, man.
Yeah. No, they laugh because sometimes I'll come in and they're like, what are you doing today? You're like dressed. Like your makeup, like, what's happening? Is somebody coming in? I'm like, no, we're good. Like, I'm doing a video, but they know because it's awesome. Such a drastic change from everyday me to like, oh, I'm doing something me. So
hey, could I dive a little more into the weeds on this, because I think it's something that's of a lot of value to the listeners here.
Sure.
So you have about a $10 million agency. I'd guess you have about 200 inbound calls a day, something around.
Oh that. Gosh, no. We're so low. We're so low maintenance on the client side.
Good job.
God, we're so blessed. Hold on, I can actually tell you. I want to guess it's like 50 calls a day at most.
Wow. Good job. That's a lot of easy pay.
Yeah. We do have a lot of easy pay. Okay, so this is literally yesterday. My service team took 31 inbounds yesterday.
Wow. On 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
So Craig.
Yeah.
Craig, how many do you get?
We have, I mean, between 80 and 100 probably. So a little bit more with a little less premium. So we have about 8 million.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
And I think that's why you have to, like, that's why I say your agency is so different than my agency. Even if we're the same size, the kind of clients that you have or that you're writing, you know, how much of it is new business, how much of it requires like follow up. It's every dynamic is so different.
And it also depends, like, but my Tucson offices don't get much call in. It's Casa Grande, which is a small town, and they pay cash. You know, it's
different.
It's very different.
What's that? What's cash?
I don't know.
Do they take change?
I'm testing, seeing what happens if we tell them we don't take cash, to see what their face says. If you want to,
might not go over well. I'm guessing
we put blood. So we're putting blood pressure monitors on them, and before we ask, we want to see
good data.
The highest. Yeah, it's good data.
Right. Good data.
Funny.
Back in measure.
Yeah. So no, that's pretty average for us.
So,
yeah.
So 50. So or you said 30. You said
30 yesterday, 31.
Okay. Of 30, how many will do a mini review? And then do you track
right now, probably I'm going to say 5, but that's kind of my point is like with the hybrid, like making them a little more, not pushy, but like assumptive. You know what I mean? Not like, hey, you got a couple seconds to go over your discounts?
Right.
Like, I'm just gonna go over your discounts real quick.
Right. Like, no, is it okay if it's like, don't say that. Don't ask
just
for
like
permission.
Write in.
Ask
and then
for forgiveness.
Yeah. And then we're developing a sheet where they have to check things that they did. So there will be accountability next year that isn't there this year.
Right. Oh, okay. Did you see Laura's sheet?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
She has a good one, the little service bingo sheet. She's really on them. Yeah.
She's awesome. I love her.
She is awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Well, cool.
So you've been in the industry for a while. What have you seen? Like we're in a giant transformation period. I just think as a culture and everything, everybody's really getting groomed
Yeah.
to using their cell phones for everything. I am
Yeah.
too. I buy everything on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I almost get anxiety. I'm like, this sucks. Like, I'd rather just buy it, show up at home and go do something fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
for me. So what have you seen trend wise, and where do you think, how are you steering your ship after
So
because of this?
it's going to make me sound so old and fuddy-duddy, believe it or not, very techie. I really am. But like, this is the analogy I use. I use WebMD. Okay. Like, and we use the doctor on call, nurse, whatever.
Love it. Yeah.
So at sometimes technology makes sense, right? But I don't go onto WebMD and then go on eBay and buy penicillin for my kids and have it shipped to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could do a little research to be like, oh, do I need to go to the hospital now, or can the kid wait till in the morning? But WebMD is not my doctor. And so I've always sort of insulated us, like, I'm not going to cheapen the experience here. I'm not going to be available 24/7. I'm a human being. Like, I used to get my cell phone out for like claims, and it's been used in a really wonderful situations. And then one morning, some lady called my phone at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Finally, I answered, and she was like, I need to pay my bill before I go to work. Done.
Wow.
So, and the problem is people truly believe you should be available 24/7. And so that expectation can just wear on you when your phone just bings constantly. I mean, I have 59 unread text messages because the sports teams and my sister and my cousin and me have a group chat. Like, life just comes at you. And so you almost have to box yourself in, like, from 8 to 5, I'm at work. From 5 to 10, I'm at home. Like, you know what I mean? It's because I would never call my doctor at home. I would never expect my lawyer to text me on a Sunday afternoon. Like,
yeah,
we're professionals and we have to set ourselves up to be professionals. And I understand the scratch agents, the small agents are like, that's my advantage. I have to be, what are you setting yourself up for? Because in 5 years, when you're not scratch anymore and you're not clawing your way into financial stability, and you don't take that call on a Saturday at noon from your kid's game, what kind of level of expectation have you set for the customers that you were available 24/7, and now you have this big disappointment? So I don't sell after hours. I don't sell on Saturdays. Like, I've just always said, this is us. So I'm staying with it. And not that we're inconvenient. We text through hearsay, like, we'll get on that, but we had a girl cry because she bought it online, state minimum, and now she's totaled her 2016 Acura. And I'm like, that's why you need us, like, that's why you need us. And my staff was so upset. They were almost in tears for her, but that's why people should not be buying their own insurance when they're just clicking buttons based on price and they don't know what they're doing.
See, we know that. And, anybody in this business agrees with that. But the problem now is that the public doesn't.
Yeah. They say that millennials do research online, start research online, but most of them prefer to buy with adult advice because all their life, their parents have been like
hovering.
A lot of hoverers. We have a lot of hoverers. You know what I mean? Like, my mom says I should do this, or my dad says I should do this. And, so they take that advice, not that it's annoying or pressuresome, but they've been groomed to like take an adult's advice, basically. And so, yes, they're brilliant and they can do all their research online and say, okay, you're a sucky agency or you're a great agency. Like, they're armed with education coming in, but a lot of them seem smart enough to know they really shouldn't be doing the like setting up of the policy on their own, that they really should have a professional saying, yeah, you don't really need that, but you really need this. So that's what we're finding. We get a lot of people like that.
Do you think that technology is moving so fast though that it's going to make us obsolete, and that it moves quick, and some will say that our industry does the opposite?
So yeah, so yes, I do think there will be segments. That's why you have to think about what kind of clients am I going to have? Are all my clients techie and I just got to be a call center available 24/7? Because if that's the case, if you're not, and this is so corny, but if you're not a trusted advisor and you're just a transactional person, they might as well go to allstate.com or wherever their insurance is from, because you're not providing any additional value. That is why for your own personal brand, you must be different. You must do things a computer cannot do. You must do things that an algorithm and on Amazon picking your insurance can't do. You have to make people want to do business with you. It's just like you can have an investment account at Ameritrade or wherever, and you can Fidelity, and you can do all these trades at cheap or whatever. But if you truly want the advice of a financial advisor, you have to go for those services. So like, what kind of clients do you have? What brand are you building will determine the longevity of your agency's success.
So how does that message get out when, like, for example, you're experiencing less calls, 30 people out of the 8,000 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's
So
just an interesting, I'm just getting a little philosophical.
We call out a lot.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
because we don't get a ton of inbound, we call out a lot. We work all our premium increases, open claims. So that's how we're trying to be different and warm and fuzzy, is to be proactive on it.
How many outbound calls for that service? Look at that. Right to the numbers.
Yesterday they made like 100, but I know they were trying to catch up from the day before. They had an extra busy day with some complicated things. So that's probably pretty low. I would say usually probably 150 outbound calls, but they're legitimate, right? It's not like a salesperson trying to get like prospects to answer where you're just like dialing. Like, they're looking at the policy and they're seeing as to whether the person was hurt in the accident. They're looking to see, like, if you have a loss of discount, my work item, like, hey, I'm going to send you an email to remind you how to sign up for e-policy. I need that transcript. You can send me a screenshot. You can text it to me. So it's like not some generic, hey, this is your insurance agency and you're renewing. Like, we're providing value because we don't expect them to call us back because people are busy. And I guess that's where I'm keeping up with the Amazon shoppers and the people that life is just like, we're so efficient at what we do that we're not annoying. And they're like, oh, I should have just done this online. They're like, oh, wow, thanks. Like, that's awesome. So we're making it more convenient for them than online would have been.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to look at it too. Cause I think that's the missing piece that people don't understand about technology, is that it's just a tool. So as much as it does make things convenient, there are the times, like, if you can use that to leverage the experience to make it really good, fast, easy for them. But for those other times you're there for them, that's the combo, I think.
Right. Yeah. You got to have that balance, and you do have to understand that the reason people like technologies is because the world is moving so fast. So when you're listening to your customer service calls or your sales calls, understanding when people are making it inconvenient, right? Like, you can do a quote without a VIN number, but we literally had a salesperson go, I can't quote you without that. Like, what? Like, you know what I mean? So, but they might have thought that, and that's a training issue kind of thing. So you have to be listening and making sure. And I tell my staff this all the time when I'm critiquing them. My perspective is this, because I am someone who's so busy that you need to be like, I'm an Amazon lover. Like, even my groceries are clickless. Everything's fast. So like, when I send emails, when you guys forward emails that come into you, it'll say preferred form of communication. I have customer service reps that will immediately call. And I'm like, listen, if they say we prefer to be emailed, email them.
Right.
This is so complicated. Like, I just, I get it, but they don't want to talk to you. They're at work. They can't take the call. Just email them back. And just so making sure that you are listening to the way your client wants to communicate is so critical. That is so important.
Right.
That is
Yeah.
a good point.
It's amazing because rapport now can be established by the means by which you're communicating, not necessarily by the actual communication itself. You know,
Absolutely.
they say, don't call me, email me, or hit me on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever, and you don't do what they say, rapport lost.
Right. And even email communication, if you're not checking your staff's email communication, that right there could be just blowing your branding, right? Like, are they not capitalizing I's? And even just small
I was just going to
stuff.
say that one.
Yeah. And, you know, and I don't even think it's a gender thing. I think some people are emotional human beings and some aren't. And so somebody's like, hey, I need to add a ring. What a difference when the person replies like, congratulations, with all caps and like 8 exclamation points, versus the person that's like, okay, well, I need your appraisal. Thanks. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to like be in it with your clients and, you know,
be human,
share in their joys and their frustrations. I mean, you hear us all the time around here going, we get it, right? Like, that's terrible, or Allstate screwed up, or, I mean, you have to sometimes just like get on their side and then, you know, admit where you went wrong and then fix it. Do the best you can to fix it.
It's why there's emojis. Like they created emojis because everybody is reading tone into text, and it's like one person may, you know, like hit me or something, and they're like, what, they want to hit me, you know? And it's like, no, I meant what, you know? And so everybody's mistakenly understanding and interpreting tonality,
right.
And that's what the little, you know, crying, laughing, all that.
Yeah. So people would know, like, this is a joke, or this is what I mean. Yeah. And we call it word salad, because even when clients call and they're rambling on, like my staff will come in and I'm like, okay, breathe. Like, let's pull out what they actually meant. Okay. So like, they're screaming about their rate increase, but is that really what they're mad about? Let's go back and be like, okay, tell me, like, you had an accident. We told you your rate would go up. So like, tell me, is it more than you expected? Can you not afford it? Like, let's get to the crust of the problem. Because a lot of times what clients are saying aren't even really the problem. You know, you acknowledge that the rate went up, but then you have to provide a solution. That is actually part of our mission statement. It's literally on my desktop is my background that says we must be solution focused, because in this industry there's so many problems that if you get so swept up in the problems, the system problems, the leadership problems, the pricing problem, like, what a gloomy place to come to work. But if we're solution focused, it's just so much more positive, and it fixes your mojo. It makes you actually want to come here and do things because you're fixing things for people.
Right. So true to read into it too. You know, it's usually the thing that they're upset about is not really the thing.
Yeah.
Like my wife is mad at me that the fork is the wrong way in the dishwasher. Likely not the reason, right?
She was already mad at you.
She was already mad.
I was going to say, only a parent would see that, right? Because that's the same thing as parents that we do. It's never it's never about the thing.
Yeah, it's never about the thing. And that's the hardest part to teach staff, because they're the frontline people, right? They're being screamed at for whatever reason. And so of course they get like all nervous, and I mean, it's a natural reaction. But I tell staff all the time, I don't know why you're afraid of the hold button. Like, the hold button is your best friend. Like,
please hold.
Hold, take a breath. I'm like, no, don't be like, hold, please. Be like, okay. Like, I hear everything you're saying, but can you give me just 1 second? I want to help. Like, it can be so generic, like, but I got to put you on hold because I got to gather all this information. And then just like, but instead people just get so flustered, and then it just sometimes snowballs into just the worst disaster. Because I mean, you can hear it. You can hear the client be like, "Are you even listening to me?" And so
right.
effective listening is huge.
I think that is huge. And actually what we do here on the service side is we have a list of things to do on one call. And we have a list of things to never do on one call. Because of this, perception is everything.
Yeah.
If you can do something in 2 minutes on the phone, it seems like you didn't put in that much effort.
Right.
Now, I know this is a weird theory. Maybe it's counterintuitive at times, but I like to have everything in, kind of compartmentalized in a box. So for those other things, it's like, yes, empathize with them. Oh, that sucks. I can't believe that happened. You know what? You're right. Like we gotta work on this. Let me see everything I can do. I'm gonna work on this. Can we give you a call back at 2 or whatever?
Yeah.
Right.
Then it gives you the chance that if you do it that way every time, it gives you the chance to just empathize. That's it for that call. Like all you're doing is trying to diffuse because they're just pissed off and they need to be heard, listened, and felt.
Right.
Then the second call, we either have a solution or we don't. And if we don't, usually by the time, like who does that? Who does that? If you called up, I don't know, Macy's or I don't know, whatever store, you call up a store and you're pissed off about a problem. If they listen to everything you said, empathize with you, and actually gave you a call back like 2 hours later when they said they would.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care what they tell me. I'd be like, well, thanks so much for your hard work. So
right. Thanks for trying. Like,
yeah, thanks for trying.
Ultimately want is for somebody to try. Like,
yeah.
That's it. Right. Like just try. That's it.
Yep. Especially in this digital world.
Made personal, right?
Yeah.
Like our people are taking it personally. They need to not take it personally and just flip it around and make it personal to them, to the client.
Right. And then part of the problem is with critical thinking skills and almost profiling customers. Like I had a client the other day that wasn't communicating well with my sales manager about a secondary home. And so he called me and I said, listen, I know this guy. He's busy and he's annoyed because he wants you to tell him what he has to do for this to qualify for underwriting. And you're asking him, is there a business run out of there? Whatever. How's it titled? And he's basically saying, you tell me. And he's like, no, I think he's fishing for answers. I'm like, no, he genuinely is like, do I put it in my trust name? Do I need to live there for it to be an Airbnb? You tell me, like, what do I need to do with this house to make it qualify? Whereas he was reading it different. I'm like, no, this guy is so busy that he's literally saying, you tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. And he's like, oh, I never thought about it that way. I thought he just was fishing for answers. Like, you want me to tell you it's in my personal name? Okay, it's in my personal name. I'm like, no, that's not what he means. And he's like, but he's so used to people trying to pull one over that he was sort of jaded in that respect. Like, and so when I explained it differently, he's like, okay, that totally makes sense. But there's just not a roadmap for every client.
No. And we what we call it, and it's same on sales and service, is that the initial thing, okay, no, I'm just looking for the cheapest price. Okay. If somebody says that, it's like, you got to, and what we do is we call it peel the onion. You got to peel the onion, keep peeling back those layers to see what they're actually talking about. And same with the service side. You calling all pissed off. My rates, it's like, okay, well, what are they pissed about? Because they knew what they were getting. They'd be like, wow, it's crazy how great it is. The rate.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, for sure.
Some of the time. So Allison, what do you do to keep yourself accountable and your team?
Nothing. I think I'm the worst on accountability, and it's like I'm a disaster. I'm like a tornado. I'm just like, ooh, and my ADD does not help. Like, it's like I get one grand idea and then 5 minutes later, well, obviously we do okay. I mean, we were Inner Circle last year, so we do. I guess that's it. Like, I always have things going on and I know the end goal, right? It's just getting there isn't very pretty. So
yeah.
Sarah,
you are a salesperson. See?
That maybe that's why on the test I am. They're like, this girl's a disaster. So I'll give you an example on life and retirement. So we're at 115,000 right now. We'll probably end up at 145,000. And how did I get there, right? Like I knew I needed to train my staff more. So we started out the year training staff. And honestly, we'd met our annual, but we were at 90 by July. So
Nice.
I just wanted to get that out of the way, right? So it wasn't a written goal, and it wasn't like strategically every week we had the same meeting at the same time. But I would pull calls and I'd be like, you missed the fact that they're changing jobs, call back for a 401k. Or you missed the fact that they said they wanted to save money because they were getting ready to have a baby and go on maternity leave. Like, you're listening for ALR triggers. And so we were always juggling balls, right? But it's very difficult to focus on all things that are required at this job, right? So what can you do every day? And then what can you just say, okay, this is my first quarter goal. I guess that's kind of how I plan things. Like, I want ALR done like that. And so that was kind of my focus out of the gate in January. And now my focus is to make my retention as strong as it can be. And I'm more focused on the customer service side. So I'm always focused on something. It's just not always the same.
Moving the ball.
Always.
Moving the ball.
It's a game.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a game.
I think it helps
Allison,
to shift with Allstate because they're always changing, right? Like, so if you're not so strict on yourself and then they throw you a curveball, it doesn't throw the whole thing off kilter. You're just like, okay, well, now I can't worry about this. I got to worry about that because it's always changing.
Yep.
Man.
No. Okay. So, if you have to get like let's say your son, daughter came into this industry, what would be the number one piece of advice that you would give them? Somebody new into the industry.
That humans are just like us, because when I started at 18, I was so intimidated by adults that I'd been called Allie all of my life, right? Like, all of my life I was Allie, and all of a sudden I was Allison. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I was trying to be something I wasn't because they intimidated me. And then when I started in the insurance world, everyone intimidated me. Everybody had their stuff together except me. No, like, what I've learned now that I'm older and wiser is what happens outside of closed doors is one thing, and what happens behind closed doors is another. Like, most people are a mess. Most people are hurting.
They're all a mess.
You know what I mean? Like, why we're so like, so that would probably be my advice to anyone coming into the industry is you have something to offer. You have something that this person might not know a lot about, and it's your job to guide them. I don't care if they're a world-renowned physician at your local hospital. That doesn't mean they're good at insurance, because that was actually probably one of my greatest first experiences. Was I had a girl call me. She was with Safe Auto, state minimums, and I said, "What's your email?" And she said something Procter and Gamble, and I was like, "Oh, like," and I was like, "What do you do?" She's like, "I'm the vice president of something." Anyways, long story short, home, auto, pup, life insurance. And she literally said to me, "I'm phenomenal at what I do, but I know nothing about insurance." And that really set the tone for me that, like, okay, we really can advise people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that really is something people expect from us, and we should be delivering on that and not being so intimidated. Like, if I say this, "Hey, you don't have water backup, do you know what it is?" that somebody might scream at me and be like, "I'm not stupid. I know what water backup is." I mean, the chance of that happening is pretty slim, but we get so afraid about how someone's going to react. We just choose not to speak at all. And that you cannot be intimidated like that. Like, they wouldn't be your customer if they didn't want your help. And that's where we will lose to the internet if we don't start doing what we were built to do.
That's great. Great advice.
Thanks.
That is awesome. Yeah, we are in our head, and we will for some reason focus on the worst case scenario.
Yes.
And you see it with staff, they say that same thing over and over. But what if they say this? I'm like, well, but what if they say all the other things that they're more likely to say? Because that's what's going to happen. They're going to say a million other things before they tell you they hate you.
It is
yet if they tell
terrifying.
you,
I mean,
yeah.
rejection is terrifying, but I do tell my staff, like, for the one person that screams at you, think about the one person who calls you and tells you how grateful they are because their basement just had a loss, and thank goodness you sold them water sewer backup 2 years ago. Like, you just cannot focus on the jerk, because there are so many in the world. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what we're so angry about, but good Lord, it is not good out there. Like, it is like,
Right.
you know what I mean? People are just upset with life in general. People are hurting, people are broke, you know, so I say that too. Like, we have to be a beacon of someone's day. Like, from the moment that they call, there's a difference between thank you for calling Allstate and thank you for calling Allstate. How can I help you? Like, there's a difference. Like, set the tone. Like, don't bring your own woes into the office and then spew them on the phone either. Cause like, I get it. Like, outside of these walls is way more important than what's happening in these walls. And I feel for my staff when they're hurting, but I also don't, because people mirror those tones, right? So if you're having a bad day and then you pick up the phone and you're curt, then the customer's going to be curt. And it's just a bad day for everybody. And so much damage is done. So we try to really focus on tones too.
Allie, this is so awesome. And we've gone over, but this is what I'd like to do. I'd like to right now invite you back, because I think that we need to do a part 2.
Okay.
If you will.
I'd love to.
Accept. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
and next time we're gonna start blocking where we have a little more time, because we keep going over like this.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. No, I'd love it.
Okay, cool. Awesome. And so we'll leave it at that little cliffhanger, because we have a bunch of other stuff we'd like to ask you. And this has just been tremendous. I mean, how many count knowledge nuggets, Jason? How many were there?
At least 17.
Uncountable. Yeah, at least 17. So,
well, I appreciate it. I really, I have a true passion for helping others. That's why you see me so active out there on the Facebook pages, because I'm so thankful. I mean, I wasn't like poverty level, but we didn't have much money growing up, single mom, 2 little girls, like, so I just feel so blessed that honestly at 40 years old, I could retire. Like, I don't know why God was so good to me, but if a lot of people helped me along the way, even at Western Southern Life Insurance, I called them my cubicle moms. And so I'm trying to be that for others. Yeah. Like, let me look out for you. Let me let you not make this mistake. And at the end of the day, we're all one brand. And the better we all look for each other, it matters. It all matters. 100%. And so I'm thrilled to be here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Allie. That's awesome.
Thanks, guys.
So
all right.
much.
Have a good one.
All right.
Okay,
you too.
bye.
Hey, you've got to check out the Insurance Dudes Inner Circle, coming soon, where you get extended interviews as well as live coffee talks in our private Facebook group. Join the mailing list today at theinsurancedudespodcast.com. Hey, thanks for checking out The Insurance Dudes. Hey, please subscribe. We got some really great stuff coming out.